The ruler is one of the earliest tools most people learn to use, and one of the last they question. It sits quietly on desks, in drawers, and in toolkits, providing answers without commentary. When used correctly, it disappears. Only the measurement remains. That disappearance is the result of a long process of refinement. Before standardized rulers existed, measurement was local and relative. Length was defined by bodies, tools, or environments. A foot was a foot because it resembled a foot. A cubit was an arm. Rope lengths varied. Units shifted from place to place and person to person. This worked well enough for small communities. But as trade expanded, construction grew more complex, and knowledge needed to travel. This variability became a problem. Objects built in one place needed to fit objects built elsewhere. Instructions had to mean the same thing to different people. The core problem was not accuracy. It was agreement. The ruler emerged as a way to freeze length into a portable, repeatable reference. Instead of asking people to compare objects to themselves, it asked them to compare objects to the same thing. This shift changed everything. Once measurement lived on an object, it could be shared, copied, taught, scaled. The ruler became a mediator between people who might never meet. Its design reflects this role. The ruler is straight because straightness is foundational. Curves are ambiguous. A straight edge establishes a baseline against which deviation can be seen. Long before numbers matter, the edge itself communicates order. The markings are evenly spaced because uneven spacing would introduce doubt. Visual rhythm reinforces trust. Each unit looks like the last. Nothing suggests preference or emphasis. The ruler does not explain what the units mean. It assumes that meaning exists elsewhere. This separation of reference from interpretation is deliberate. The ruler's job is to remain neutral. Material choice supports this neutrality. Rulers are often made of wood, plastic, or metal, materials that resist warping under normal conditions and feel stable in the hand. A ruler that bends undermines trust instantly. Rigidity is not optional. It is the entire point. This rigidity also shapes behavior. When you measure something, you adapt to the ruler. You line it up. You adjust your grip. You slow down. Measurement becomes a deliberate act rather than a guess. The ruler does not force this behavior. It encourages it by being dependable. This dependability has consequences. Once people trust a ruler, they begin to trust measurements they did not personally take. Drawings, plans, blueprints, and instructions become meaningful across distance and time. The ruler enables abstraction. You no longer need to see the object to know its size. A number suffices because the ruler exists somewhere else, enforcing consistency. This is the ruler's quiet power. It allows systems to be built by people who never touch the same materials. The realization often comes when a ruler is missing or unreliable. A warped ruler produces errors that feel mysterious. A mismatched scale causes parts not to fit. Suddenly, the assumption of sameness collapses. You realize the ruler was not just measuring length, it was enforcing a shared reality. This is the aha moment. The ruler is not a passive tool. It is an agreement made physical. A compact promise that this much will mean the same thing to anyone who uses it. That promise is why its design barely changes. Innovation would introduce doubt. Decoration would distract. Complexity would undermine clarity. The ruler remains plain because plainness protects trust. Invisible design often looks like this. An object becomes so aligned with its purpose that any change feels like damage. The form stabilizes, not because no one has ideas, but because the problem has been solved at the right level. The ruler does not improve measurement by becoming smarter. It improves it by staying still. And because it does, we learn to see the world in straight lines, equal units, and shared dimensions, without ever thinking about how that lesson began.